So I want to address the fear of the Lord, the fear of God, the true fear of God, the healthy, real fear of God. There's different types of fear of God. There's good fear of God, there's bad fear of God. But nowadays, many people think that we don't need to fear God. They think that because 1 John 4:18 says that perfect love casts out fear, because fear hath torment, and he who feareth is not made perfect in love. So they think when hearing that they don't need to fear God. We can have confidence in the day of judgment. Why? Because if our love is perfect, and that means love of God and true fear of Him, knowing that if we disobey, the true healthy fear of God, knowing that if we disobey God, that He will punish us, and because He is our Father. It's just like a father, son, daughter relationship where you disobey the Father and there's consequences. It's the same thing with God. We sin and there's consequences. And even the Israelites, they didn't even want to speak with God. They wanted Moses to speak. That's the fear they had. That, look, you go to Exodus 20 and verse 19, and they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, for God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that you sin not. So this is still the fear that God still is showing us even there, that he wants us to have a fear of him, knowing, like Christ said, fear him who has the power to cast you into hell. He's not just saying fear the hell itself. He's saying fear him who has the power to cast you there. So yes, hell is a bad, terrible place. It's awful, right? But we shouldn't have a tormenting fear if we're made perfect in love, that we're going to go there, because obviously we're keeping the commandments of God. That's what being perfect in love is keeping his commandments, loving the brethren as well as how our love is perfected. So read 1 John 3 and 4. And so, I want to go to Proverbs 8:13, where the fear of the Lord is explained. And it says, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, arrogancy, and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate. Okay, that's Proverbs 8:13. If you go to Psalm 34, then you see, and there's so many scriptures on the fear of God, but I just want to go over a few. You go to Psalm 34, 9 through 16, and you read, O fear the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. Come ye children, hearken unto me, I will teach you the fear of the Lord. What man is he that desireth life and loveth many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil, and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Now listen, the eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. So we have to understand something, that there's consequences to our sin. That is the fear of God, because as you even read here, the righteous, this is the point, the eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, his ears are open unto their cry. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. The righteous can go back and start doing evil again. And that's the whole thing. And that's where that true fear, working out our own salvation with fear and trembling, this is what we have to do. This is all through the New Testament. The fear of God isn't just an Old Testament thing. Because now you go to 2 Corinthians 7, and look, we're supposed to be perfecting holiness in the fear of God. This is what Paul wrote. Having therefore these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. So, you see, the fear of God. This is something that we must have. There's many other scriptures that go over this, right? Even Hebrews 4:1 talks about, let us fear, lest a promise being left unto us to enter into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. That means we can come short of entering God's rest. And we have to fear. We have to know. Even Romans 11 says, be not high-minded, but fear. You know, I want to read that, because look what Paul says here. And this is even to the Gentiles, you know, being grafted in. And I want to quote it exactly how it says. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Now listen, this goes back to the real fear of God, even in the New Testament, the Old Testament, it's all here. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God. So we have to see both. We have to know both. On them which fell severity, but toward thee goodness. If thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shalt be cut off. If I'm continuing in God's goodness, if I'm truly loving God, if I'm perfecting my love in God, yeah, I don't have to worry about torment. I don't have to worry about being cut off. But I always still have to remember that those are possibilities if I step outside the realm of being obedient, of continuing in his goodness, of having perfect love. And that's the truth. So what it all comes down to is there's different types of fear. There's healthy fear, there's bad fear where you don't even, that pushes you away from God, where you're scared, you don't even want to come near him. The fear of God we need to have is fear that brings us closer to God. Fear that wants us to desire to seek God and to obey God and to make sure that we don't disobey him. So I say all that to say this, that if we have perfect love to God, we don't have to fear any torment, but we still have that real godly fear that shows that if we disobey, if we don't listen, then he's going to do what he says he's going to do. Cut us off, spew us out, cast us forth as a branch. As Christ says, if your eye causes you to sin, to pluck it out. Your hand offends you, cut it off. And I also want to read this, Hebrews 12, because this is important. This is what we have to understand. Let's go to Hebrews 12, and we're going to go to verse 25. He says, this is a warning, danger of refusing God. And see that ye refuse not him that speaketh. For if they escape not who refuse him that spake on earth, much more shall not we escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven, whose voice then shook the earth. But now he hath promised, saying, yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. And this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Wherefore, we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. For our God is a consuming fire. There's many other scriptures. I want to just get, probably make a part 2, maybe even a part 3 to this video, but I just wanted to get a couple of these out there, and to God be the glory. And the answer to the question of should we fear the Lord? Absolutely. To fear God? Absolutely. This is the thing though, if our love is perfect for God, we don't have to fear torment. And then, but we do have to have that healthy fear, knowing that he is who he says he is. And if we turn back, if we go back into sin, if we disobey, if we're refusing him that speaketh, if we're doing anything outside of his will, we need to make sure we get back into that perfect love, get back into his will, to make sure that we can, we will be bold on the day of judgment. We can come boldly, have boldness on the day of judgment. So grace and peace, and look forward for the next video.